If you've watched the Spider-Verse movies, you know that Miles has been through a lot, especially in Across the Spider-Verse. The guy seriously needs a break after all that. Recently, we got a short film called The Spider Within that gives us a glimpse into Miles's mental state. Turns out, he's dealing with anxiety, probably because he's trying to balance being Spider-Man and being a good son. Doing both at the same time is super tough, especially for someone who just started being Spider-Man. When you watch the first movie, you think, okay, he's got this now. He's Spider-Man, and everything's gonna be great. But this short film shows us that he's actually struggling a lot with the pressure and responsibilities that come with being Spider-Man. And things get even more intense for him in Across the Spider-Verse. Miles really misses his friends and wishes he could see them again, but they're all in different universes, so it's not easy. Plus, he's got a major crush on Gwen, drawing her all over the place and thinking about her non-stop. At one point, he considered telling his parents the truth about being Spider-Man but decided against it because, they might freak out. Another thing he was willing to do just for a chance to see his friends again was giving up on his dreams, literally. He started studying how to travel between universes and stuff like that, all to find a way to be with them again. He gave up on his own dreams just for a chance to see his friends because he feels that nobody else can really understand what he's going through. That's how much he missed them. The only time Miles really feels like himself and truly alive is when Gwen visits him. You can see how happy he is when they're swinging through the city and going on a sort of date together. It says a lot about how Miles was feeling in that moment. He was so happy and completely different from how he was before. He finally felt understood by someone who could relate to him. Their conversation is just beautiful because they connect on such a deep level. I mean, Miles and Gwen have this bond that goes beyond dimensions. It doesn't matter how far apart they are. He has a different outlook on life compared to Gwen because he believes that anything's possible and there's always a first time for everything. They really complement each other in a lovely way. But that moment of happiness for Miles didn't last long because Gwen had to leave, and we all know why she was there in the first place. She wasn't just there to see Miles, it was for a mission. Still, she couldn't bear being in his universe and not seeing him because she's got it bad for him, just like he's got it bad for her. When Gwen was leaving, it was super sad because you could see on Miles's face how heartbroken he was, thinking that he might never see her again. The conversation with his mom was so real, and I'm not gonna lie, Rio is just fantastic in this movie. Even though she didn't have many scenes, the ones she had, like her talk with Miles, were so heartwarming. He was feeling pretty down at that moment because the girl he likes was leaving, and he thought he might never see her again. Rio noticed this and, even though Miles was grounded, she kinda ungrounded him and told him to go after Gwen. That moment was both beautiful and emotional. Then Miles decides to follow Gwen, and there's this part where he's standing in front of the portal, wondering if he should go through it or stay in his universe. He thinks about it for a while but eventually jumps into the portal. He did all this just to see Gwen and Peter again, but little did he know that this would only lead to trouble and heartbreak for him. When Miles jumped into the portal, he ended up in a different universe and was having the time of his life with the other spider people. He never felt like this before, working in a team with people who understood him and made him feel less alone. You could see the joy on his face during these moments, which was just so awesome to watch. For Miles, there's no such thing as letting someone die. At that moment, he didn't know about the whole canon thing. He was just doing what Spider-Man is supposed to do. Save people and try to keep them safe, not just watch them die. Once he got to the Spider Society HQ, he was completely blown away by the sheer number of spider people there. We're talking hundreds and hundreds. Earlier, when he was chatting with Gwen, she had mentioned it was a small elite strike force, but clearly, that wasn't the case. So, yeah, it was a bit of a lie, but Miles wasn't upset about it. He was more surprised and amazed to see so many spider people gathered together in one place. When he met Miguel, the leader of the Spider Society, he was excited to be a part of it. I bet he thought Miguel was inviting him to join the group, and he was totally thrilled about it. But Miguel isn't exactly Miles's biggest fan. Then Miguel started talking about canon events. Stuff that happens to every single spider person and things they're supposed to go through. At that moment, the whole mood changed because, as we can see, a lot of the spider people there had lost loved ones. Pretty much, all of them actually. When Miles had a vision where he saw the Spot killing his father, he completely freaked out. You could see the desperation on his face, and he was ready to go back to his universe to save him. But according to Miguel, Miles should let his father die because it's an event that has to happen. If he saves his dad, his universe could collapse or be destroyed, and that's when all the problems in the movie start to unfold. Of course, Miles wasn't having any of that. He couldn't just sit around knowing his father was going to die. When all the spider people from the Spider Society surrounded him in a circle to make sure he wouldn't escape, things got pretty intense. He thought that at least Peter B. Parker would understand him and agree that he shouldn't let his father die. But surprisingly, Peter B. sided with Miguel and thought Miles should let his father die. Even Gwen was willing to let her own dad die, which really disappointed Miles. He felt let down by everyone there, including Peter and Gwen. The idea of knowing when, how, and who would kill someone and just standing by without doing anything to save them didn't sit right with Miles. He was so excited to be part of the group, but now that he was in, it wasn't at all what he had expected. He just can't accept the idea of letting innocent people die just because it's supposed to happen. So, he decides to get out of there and save his father, which kicks off the crazy chase in the movie. He manages to escape because Hobie gives him a hint about using his palms, not just his fingers, when he's trapped in the electric bubble. He uses his powers and pulls off a thrilling escape, even though the people he trusted the most are now chasing him. The saddest part is when Miguel slammed him onto the train and tells him he's a mistake, that he was never supposed to be Spider-Man, and that he's an anomaly. Miguel literally tells Miles that his existence is a mistake, which is heartbreaking if you think about it. He even tries to make Miles feel guilty for the death of his universe's Peter Parker, saying that he only died because of him. So, basically, Miguel is putting the blame on Miles and making him feel responsible for something that wasn't his fault. But the moment when he discovers that Gwen and Peter knew all along about his father's fate, even before he joined the Spider Society, he felt devastated. Their betrayal is just insane. He also finds out that both of them could have visited him anytime but chose not to, which is incredibly heartbreaking, especially with Gwen, since she's the one Miles trusted the most. She's gonna have to work super hard to regain his trust after this. We all know she cares about him, but she really messed up this time. And let's not forget that epic moment when Miles declares that everyone keeps telling him how his story is supposed to go, and that he's gonna do his own thing. He's gonna write his own story and not just wait for it to happen. He is taking control of his destiny and doing things his way. It was truly heartbreaking to see Miles's face in the final moments of the movie, when he tearfully says goodbye to Gwen. He was so devastated and lonely. He really thought that meeting his friends and being part of the Spider Society would make him feel less alone and happy, but it didn't turn out the way he expected. Imagine being part of a group that you're excited to join, only to have everyone, including your friends, turn against you and start chasing you. It's insane. Miles went through so much, and even though he eventually managed to escape, things still didn't go as planned. He ended up in Earth 42, which is the same universe that the spider that bit him came from. In this universe, his uncle is alive, but his father is already dead. It's a lot for Miles to take in and process after everything he's been through. When he met his uncle in Earth 42, he was super happy to see him since his uncle is dead in his own universe. But then, he got knocked out by someone and woke up tied to a punching bag. The biggest plot twist was that the person who knocked him out was none other than the alternative version of himself in that universe, who took on the persona of the Prowler. This alternate Miles was supposed to be bitten by the spider instead, but since the spider bit the Miles we know, he became the Prowler. In the first movie, we learned that Kingpin was messing with the Collider, which brought a spider from Earth 42 to Miles's universe, eventually biting him and turning him into Spider-Man. Since there was no spider left to bite the Earth 42 miles, he became the Prowler instead. Now, our Miles is stranded in this alternate universe with the alternative version of himself and his uncle. I think he'll definitely be using the advice that Peter B. gave him in the first movie when he was tied up too. Don't watch the mouth, watch the hands. Gwen and Peter have a lot of work to do, especially Gwen, after betraying Miles like that. We know she's willing to do whatever it takes to save him because she gathered a bunch of spider people to rescue him. She's committed to being 100% on his side now, but regaining his trust won't be easy. Gwen needs to have a heart-to-heart conversation with Miles because they care about each other deeply and share a strong connection and chemistry. At least Gwen realized she made a mistake and didn't mean to hurt Miles. Now, she's trying to do the right thing and make amends. Miles really deserves a happy ending after everything he's been through. Anxiety, betrayal by his friends, learning that his existence was supposedly a mistake, being stranded in a different universe, trying to save his father. It's just so much for one person to handle. Let's hope that nothing bad happens to his family or the people he loves, like his father, mother, or anyone else close to him. And let's also hope he finally gets together with Gwen after all this chaos.